Hello students, this video I'm going to make on the chapter classification of plants. This is of class 7 standard. Okay, for the children of class 7, this is one of the chapter classification of plants. Okay, so before getting into the details of the plants, their classification, their type, their properties and all, okay, we must have a clear idea about the classification of the living organism present on this earth. Okay, so this video I'm going to start with this concept, that how these living organism, okay, are classified in different categories. See, the classification of different category in the different categories of this living organism, what is the objective behind it? Okay, it is for us, okay, so that we can study the living organisms well. Okay, we can understand their features, we can develop our understanding and knowledge about them. Okay, because if we don't classify them, it will be a messy condition. There are millions of living organisms on this earth. If to study a particular type of organism, we have to categorize them. Our study, our way to approach this living organism should be very systematic. Okay, so that is why the classification is needed. Okay, for the research purpose, to gain knowledge, to develop ourselves, to develop the environment. Okay, the knowledge is important, and that is why to understand the living organisms and so to understand the ecosystem and the earth, okay, the categorization of the living organism is very important. Okay, so let us first understand this classification. So I'm rubbing the chapter name here. So living organism, I'm going to make a flow chart here. Living organism. Okay, I'm going to write this in a very small words. The size of the word should be small because I have to cover a lot of things within this board. Okay, I'll be mentioning whatever I'll be writing there, so it will be it will not be a problem for you to write down. Okay, so living organism, first of all, if we categorize them broadly into two categories. Okay, broadly into two categories. What are these? Prokaryotes, okay, and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So let me tell you what is this prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are the organisms which don't have a well-defined nucleus. You know that cells have nucleus. So these prokaryotic organisms, they are unicellular in nature. Okay, these lines I am drawing with the black so that it will be prominent for you to understand that which is the categories. Okay, so these are unicellular. So prokaryotic organisms are unicellular, and cells must have nuclear plasm, nuclear material, which contains genetic materials. So in these prokaryotes, the unicellular organisms, the nucleus is not well defined. It means the nuclear material, the nuclear plasm, does not have a membrane around them. It's not membrane bound nuclear material. So what happens when there is no membrane around them? The nuclear plasm gets scattered in the cytoplasm. There is no particular shape. This kind of nuclear plasm, we call them as a nucleoid. Understood? Note down each and everything. Nucleoid. So in case of prokaryotes, we can say it is not technical, not exactly nucleus, it is a nucleoid. Understood? Because, or else we can say that it doesn't have a well-defined nucleus. Clear? Now, under this, okay, there is a single kingdom kept under this. It is the Monera. The Monera kingdom comes under this category. And who comes under Monera kingdom? All the bacteria comes under Monera kingdom. So bacteria are so vast in types that a whole kingdom is given for the bacteria only. The billions different types of bacteria are there. So a whole kingdom of Monera given only for bacteria. Okay, some basic features we will be discussing bacteria in detail later on in my next videos. Just for knowledge, for now, simple some introduction to bacteria. They are unicellular, as you know. Unicellular, they are prokaryotes. Okay, they don't have a well-defined nucleus. Understood? So these are some features of bacteria. Understood? And there are many bacteria which have chlorophyll. They can make their own food. Again, many of them they cannot make their own food. This is some features of prokaryotes, bacteria. Okay. Now the eukaryotes next. Eukaryotes. Okay. If I divide them into two categories, let's divide them into two categories. Let's keep it one here. Then let's keep this side. I'm trying to manage everything to be there, the same board, So eukaryotes. There are unicellular eukaryotes, okay, and there are multicellular eukaryotes. Multicellular eukaryotes. Okay. Now unicellular eukaryote. If we say the unicellular eukaryotes, so the kingdom that comes under this Protista. Is the Protista. So unicellular eukaryotes, the kingdom Protista, the organisms which comes under the Protista kingdom, they are eukaryotes but they are unicellular. Okay, protozoa comes under this, amoeba comes under this, diatoms comes under this. Okay, the popular Plasmodium, which is a protozoa, comes under this Protista kingdom. Plasmodium we know which is responsible for malaria disease. Okay, so comes under this Protista kingdom, which are unicellular. Clear? But they are eukaryotes. Okay, means they have well defined nucleus. Now if you look at the multicellular one, okay, then how to define this multicellular category? Fine. So we can divide into two: without cell wall and with let's try the with cell wall this side. Okay, with cell wall, okay, and without cell wall. Clear? So with cell wall and without cell wall, where cell wall is the outermost layer. Okay, so let's divide them again into two categories. With cellular have chlorophyll, okay, and without chlorophyll first. Okay, so without chlorophyll and with chlorophyll. So difference we know, right? Without chlorophyll means they cannot make their own food, so they are not autotrophs, they are heterotrophs. And with chlorophyll means they can do photosynthesis, they can make their own food, right? So without chlorophyll they are not making their own food. Okay, now under this without chlorophyll, what I am going to do is, the kingdom comes under this is fungi, the fungus. Okay, we know as them as fungus. So this fungi kingdom comes under this category. So they are, so how to understand, see how to study this flowchart. So if it is asked, tell me some features of the fungi, what you will say? They are eukaryotes, okay, they are multicellular, okay, they have cell wall as outermost layer, they don't have chlorophyll, so they cannot make their own food. See, already from this chart, 4 features or characteristics we already came to know. So this is how, if you study the flow chart, you will be able to come, you will come to know many informations, many features from within the flow chart. Okay. Now, if I look at the fungi, we can categorize the fungi again into some smaller categories. 1, 2, and 3. They can be symbionts. Okay, they can be saprophytes, or they can be parasites. As they cannot make their own food, right? So all these organisms we know present in our ecosystem, and they are heterotrophs. Okay, some are depending on the dead and decaying organic substances like saprophytes. Okay, parasites who are living on the depending on the living host cell to get the food, to extract the food, and symbionts are in mutual relationship like lichen. Okay, while algae exist with lichen, symbiotic relationship helping each other, mutually benefited, the symbionts. Okay, so you can make one line on this, as I said. Okay, now if I look at the with chlorophyll, okay, with chlorophyll, this is the plant kingdom. This is the plant kingdom. Okay. Now this plant kingdom, there are many. So let us again categorize them. Okay. So there are cryptogams and phenologams. Okay, I hope you heard about these terms. Okay, cryptogams and phenologams. Now, what is the meaning of these cryptogams? These plants are seedless. In a simple way, if I say these cryptogams, means these are plants which are seedless. They don't have seed. Okay, so these are the seedless. Again, mistake. Seedless. Clear? Now these seedless plants, which are those plants, comes under this category. Seedless means cryptogams. Okay, so these are 3 categories of plants which comes under this. Number 1, algae, which is known as thallophyta, then bryophyta, it means mosses and all comes under this. Okay, and pteridophyta. These are different divisions under plant kingdom. Pteridophyta means ferns and all. Okay, 3 different divisions comes under this plant kingdom. These 3 divisions, the plants which comes under these 3 categories, they are seedless. Clear? Okay. Now next, phenologams, just opposite. Okay, plants with seed. Obviously, plants with seed. Okay. So let us divide into again 2 categories. Non-flowering plants and flowering plants. Clear? See, whether the plants have flower or no flower, they must have seed. So plants with seed, non-flowering plants and flowering plants, both comes under this. Now under this non-flowering and this flowering, what are those divisions of plant category come? These are the gymnosperms, and these are the angiosperms. Okay, so flowering plants, non-flowering plants, but both of them have seed. Okay, so this is from this side, means with cell wall. Okay, I have divided this whole category. I'll be telling this. Okay, let me finish this part. Okay, now this without cell wall, the category of the kingdom that comes under here is the Animalia kingdom. As the name reflects, all the animals comes under this kingdom. Okay, now these animals, we can broadly divide them into two categories. If we see these in accordance to the evolution, so first comes the non-vertebrates, okay, and then the vertebrates, non-vertebrates and vertebrates. Okay, so this much is enough for you. There are many divisions can also be made, but this is not required. Those are not required for you. This much is sufficient enough for you. Okay, so let us give a revision of this. Eukaryotes, unicellular and multicellular. Eukaryotic organisms who have well-defined nucleus, but they are unicellular. Protista comes under this. Examples I have given. Multicellular, they may be with cell wall, without cell wall. If they are with cell wall, they may have chlorophyll, they may not have chlorophyll. So without chlorophyll, they are fungi, symbiont, saprophytes and parasites. All are heterotrophic organisms, the fungi. They cannot make their own food because they don't have chlorophyll. Now with cell wall, the plant kingdom comes under this. Okay, so now these plants, again two categories, cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptogams means seedless plants and phanerogams means with seed. Now seedless plants, algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. Okay, so mosses, ferns and algae all come. These are all aquatic plants, and these are all according to the evolutionary sequence. So maintaining the sequence is also important. Okay, this itself giving you a knowledge of evolution. First the algae came, then the bryophytes, then the pteridophytes, then the gymnosperm, then the angiosperm. Evolutionary sequence. So maintain the way, the sequence I have maintained. Okay. So phanerogams with seed, plants with seed, non-flowering and flowering. Non-flowering, gymnosperm, they don't produce flowers. Flowering, they have flowers. If they don't produce flowers, gymnosperm, what they produce cones. Okay, I will discuss about the cones when I will be making the next videos. So this is all about this side. Okay, and then without cell wall animals, they may be in non-vertebrates, they may be vertebrates. Okay, means the presence of backbone and there is no backbone. In non-vertebrates, they don't have the backbone. Okay, and vertebrates, they have backbone. Okay, these non-vertebrates you can also write the technique. The terminology is mentioned in the book here. Invertebrates. Okay, so without backbone, these are with backbones. We can again categorize them into many. Okay, but that is not required right now. So this is how the way I have discussed, the way I have first of all written, the sequence I have written, I have followed, and as I have interacted in the sequence. If you study the same sequence, okay, it is going to give you a knowledge for the evolution also. Okay, like one I am getting from here, one I am getting from here. This is not going to give us a proper knowledge. So studying should be in a proper sequence. Understood? So these are the few categorization fundamental division. There are many more in higher classes. Okay, for you this much is enough. Okay, so then we will be discussing on next videos about the bacteria details, protista, all the organisms separately we will be discussing. Okay, so this is it for today. Just a brief idea before getting a revision of this chapter. Okay, this much knowledge will give you a basic, what to say, view, overview you can say on the chapter. It will help us to study, to revise the chapter further. Okay, so thank you so much. Note down all the important things you are getting. Okay, because each and every point information are important for you. You have to coordinate these informations, the knowledge, when you will be studying the next topics in higher classes, these classes. Okay, so the facts, the informations needs to be coordinated to understand them. Okay, thank you so much for today.